Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Welcome to the course Nutrition for the Family. This is the first module, that is meal planning, and this is the first lecture of this module in which we shall be studying about some basics of nutrition and the concept of balanced diet. I am Dr. Jaspreet Kaur, presently working as Associate Professor in Government College for Girls, Ludhiana, Punjab, affiliated to Punjab University, Chandigarh. And this project is funded by DTH Swayam Prabha, MHRD, New Delhi. In this lecture, we shall be studying about what are the important basic terms related to nutrition. And then we will study what is the concept of balanced diet. And lastly, we will be talking about what are the important points which are to be considered while planning balanced diets. Have you ever thought, why do we eat food? The answer is very simple. We eat food to stay alive. Let's define the food. So, food is anything edible that may be solid, semi-solid, or liquid. When swallowed, digested, and assimilated in our body, it will prove useful to it. So, what does this mean? So, food is anything, first thing, it should be edible. Everything, whatever we are putting in our mouth, cannot be considered as food. It has to be edible, that means worth eating. And second thing is, it could be of solid, semi-solid, or liquid consistency. And once it is taken inside our body, that means it is ingested, that means it is swallowed, it will go to our stomach and intestine, where it will be digested and it will be absorbed, and then it will be taken inside the body, and your body is going to use all the units of the food which it has absorbed, and finally it will prove useful to it. So food is not only keeping us alive, but it will also provide energy which will be used for the growth and development of our body. Then it will help in regulation of our body processes, like effectively running our body. And then lastly, it will protect our body from various diseases. That means it will enhance our immunity also. And according to Rajamal P. Devadas, intake of right kinds and amount of food can ensure good nutritional health, which may be evident in our appearance, efficiency of our work, and emotional well-being. And different nutrients which are present in food are carbohydrates, proteins, fats, vitamins, and minerals. So, what does food do to us? In addition to satisfying our hunger, we need for carrying out various activities, which is to burn the food as a fuel to produce energy that is used to carry out our various body processes. Now we are performing two kinds of activities. The first one is voluntary activities. These are the activities which we are doing voluntarily. For example, if I am talking, if I am moving my hands, if I am walking, so all these things, they are under my control. So such kind of activities, they are called voluntary activities. And then there are some involuntary activities. What are these activities? These are the activities which are not under our control. For example, blinking of our eyes. For example, our heart is pumping the blood, and our digestive system is digesting the food which we have eaten. So food is needed to carry out both type of activities. We can categorize the functions of food in three subheadings, that is physiological functions of food, social functions of food, and psychological functions of food. The physiological functions of food include all the functions which a food performs for the efficient managing of our body processes. For example, to provide energy. As we had just discussed that we need energy to carry out our voluntary and involuntary activities. So food is required for both kind of activities. And along with that, for the bodybuilding, we need the parts of food, that is especially proteins, to build new cells and tissues. For example, when we were born, we were just this small, and how we have attained this height and weight, that is all because bodybuilding has been done by the food which we were eating since the time we were born. And if we are performing certain kind of activities, or if there is any injury, we need to repair our body. So the food is going to help in that aspect also. So to repair the body tissues, to regulate many body processes, there are many processes which need food as an important participant. For example, we need hormones to carry out various activities of our body. And finally, very important function is to protect us against the diseases. That means to build the immunity of our body. So these are the physiological functions of food. Another important function is the social function of food. As we know, all of us, we are social beings, and during special occasions like marriages, birthday parties, food is an important ingredient that helps us in socializing. Another important function is the psychological function of the food. Food satisfies certain emotional needs. Who can forget the taste of our mother's recipe? We relish the food which our loved ones they had prepared, or when we visit our loved ones, we enjoy the food which has certain specific taste, and our mind it actually enjoys that taste. So it is used to express the feeling of special attention, of friendship, of recognition, or of punishment also. Now let's study one important term, that is health. What is health? According to World Health Organization, it is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well being, and not merely absence of disease or infirmity. That means if we are not having any signs of fever or any kind of discomfort, that doesn't mean we are healthy. We have to understand that we are fit in all these three parameters. These are physical, mental, and social aspects of health. Now let's study about another important term, that is nutrition. So what is nutrition? Nutrition in simple words has been defined as food at work in the body. How your food is being used by your body. So the nutrition science, it includes the study of different nutrients, their substances in the food, how it is found in different type of foods, their absorption, their assimilation, their biosynthesis, their catabolism, that means breaking down of these nutrients, and excretion of these nutrients. So all type of activities, how our body is going to use various nutrients, is covered in this science. Another important term is nutritional status. So what is nutritional status? It is the state of health of an individual which is result of efficiency of utilization of nutrients in the body. For example, what we studied in the nutrition, how our body is going to utilize each and every nutrient, and the effect will be seen in our status, in our physical appearance, in our efficiency, and in our emotional well-being. So all these parameters, they will reflect our nutritional status. This brings us to another term, that is malnutrition. Now, what is this malnutrition? It is a state of health which arises from incomplete nutrition. It is due to inadequate food or ill balanced diet. Inadequate diet can be due to both excess of intake or less amount of food than the required amount. So this is known as overnutrition or undernutrition. Let us see what are these terms. Overnutrition occurs when the diet contains nutrients in amount excess than required amount for the body. Continuous use of such diets, they lead to abnormality in health and nutritional status. Undernutrition stands for the diet which is deficient both in quality and quantity, or in other terms, the food does not provide all the essential nutrients which are needed for the proper maintenance of health. We had just discussed what are the various functions of food. So, small children, growing children, pregnant women, lactating mothers, even the elderly of our family, they are more prone to undernutrition. Now let us understand another term, that is, what are nutrients? It can be defined as those constituents of the food that must be supplied to the body in sufficient amounts in order to grow, reproduce, and lead a normal, healthy life. These nutrients can be of two types, that is macronutrients and micronutrients. Macronutrients are carbohydrate, proteins, and fats. They are known as macronutrients because our body needs them in larger amount. And micronutrients are the nutrients which are required in comparatively smaller amounts and in smaller proportions. These are known as vitamins and minerals. So what are these macronutrients? As we had just discussed, they are carbohydrate, proteins, and fats. So what are the building blocks of these macronutrients? The carbohydrates, they are made up of tiny units of glucose. The proteins, they are made up of amino acids. And the fats, they are made up of fatty acids and glycerol. So these are the basic building blocks of our macronutrients. These macronutrients, they perform various functions such as carbohydrates and fats. They are needed to provide energy for storage purpose and other functions. If we burn 1 gram of carbohydrate, your body is going to get 4 kilocalories. And similarly, if our body burns out 1 gram of protein, it will get 4 kilocalories, though we do not want to use the proteins for the energy purposes because its main function is body building and repair. But it is capable of providing energy when your body needs it. And when 1 gram of fat burns, it provides us 9 kilocalorie. That is more than double amount of calories which both carbohydrate and proteins they provide per gram. And when we talk about protein, as I has already told, that it is needed for body building and repair. Let's talk a bit about micronutrients now. They are one of the major groups of nutrients our body needs. They are of two types, that means vitamins and minerals. We call vitamins as micronutrients because they are needed in very small quantity. They have chemical names, but actually we usually refer them by the letters. It is of two types, fat soluble vitamin, that means they are soluble in the fat, they are stored inside our body. And second category is the water soluble. These are the vitamins which are soluble only in water. Fat soluble vitamins are vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, and K, whereas vitamin B complex and vitamin C, they are the types of water soluble vitamins. Why do we need vitamins? We need vitamins for various functions. For example, to maintain overall health, to help to prevent many deficiency diseases. For example, there are certain diseases which are caused when you do not take them in your diet. So, for example, beriberi, which causes weakness of muscles, heart, and nerves, and digestive system gets weakened. And another example is rickets, which causes softening and bending of bones. Similarly, to regulate and repair our body cells, we need vitamins to help combat the aging process. Many of these vitamins, they act as antioxidants, so they are really helpful in containing the aging process of our cells, to help to process the carbohydrates and release the energy inside the body. So this is another important function of vitamins. Let's talk about second type of micronutrient, that is minerals. Our body, they require mineral elements for a variety of functions. They are also known as micronutrients because we need them in smaller amounts. Unlike vitamins, which are organic substances, these minerals, they are inorganic and they are found in rocks and soils. Now, the vegetables or the plants, they absorb mineral as they grow, and animals, they digest it through their diet. Minerals can be divided into two groups, which are needed in the larger quantities. We call them major minerals, and those which are required in tiny amounts, we call them trace elements or trace minerals. Now, major minerals are, for example, sodium, potassium, calcium, and phosphorus, and trace minerals are iron, zinc, and iodine. Let's study a bit about functions of minerals. They are required to control the body processes, especially the nervous system. It is a very important function of various minerals and essential part of bodybuilding. For example, our teeth, they are made up of calcium and phosphorus, and they are important constituents of body fluids and cells. For example, we need iron, we need iodine, and they form part of enzymes and other proteins which are necessary for the release of energy. See, these minerals are also very important nutrients in our diet. Another important term is nutrient requirements. The quantities of nutrients that healthy individuals must obtain from food to meet their physiological needs is known as nutrient requirement. We shall be discussing these nutrient requirements in the next lecture. Now let's talk about another term, that is diet. So diet, it refers to whatever we eat or drink daily. The routine of diet, it is an important determinant of our health. When the diet is deficient in certain nutrients, they reflect as acute deficiency disorders such as goiter or protein energy malnutrition, night blindness, anemia, or some chronic diseases can also occur such as cardiovascular diseases, cancers. Lifestyle and diet, both of them, they play a major role in preventing and managing diseases. This brings us to our topic, that is the concept of balanced diet. What is a balanced diet? It is one which contains different type of foods in such quantities and proportions so that the needs for calories, proteins, vitamins and other nutrients, they are adequately met, and small provision is made for extra nutrients to withstand short duration of leanness also. Let's try and understand what is this definition of balanced diet conveys. The first part of definition says that it is a diet which meets the nutrient needs of a person or a family. A balanced diet meets the nutrient needs through the amounts and proportions of the food which we are going to select. Now, how much should a person consume of individual food to meet his need? This would be based on recommended dietary intakes, which are laid down for the individual for whom we are going to plan diet. The RDI figures for each nutrient, which are given through the tables, they tell us how much of the nutrient should be consumed per day. We shall be discussing about RDIs in detail. These RDI must be taken into consideration so that each nutrient can be supplied in adequate amount by the whole day diet. The recommended dietary intake is the amount of nutrient to be actually consumed in order to meet the requirements of our body. Recommended dietary intakes, they are based on requirements. Now, what do we mean by the term requirement? The requirement of a particular nutrient is the minimum amount that needs to be consumed to prevent the symptoms of deficiency and to maintain satisfactory level of that nutrient in the body. For example, if we talk about the iron intake, RDI of iron, that means what is the minimum amount of iron which a person should take to maintain that level inside the body, and there is no deficiency of that iron inside his body. So the RDIs, they are actually helpful in directing us, in suggesting us to plan balanced diet. The second part of balanced diet says that it consists of different type of food items. It must include a variety of foods. But how do we select these foods? A major aim, as we have already talked, is to ensure that all the nutrients are to be supplied, that too on the basis of recommended dietary intakes. They can be planned, RDI could be planned for all the members of our family. This can be achieved by first classifying the food into basic groups. So each group will be supplying certain specific nutrients, and then we will be selecting the foods from each of that group to make our balanced diet. Now, including items from each group will ensure that we are able to provide all the nutrients which were mentioned in the RDIs. We just studied about the first two aspects of the balanced diet. Now, this third aspect is that the balanced diet should provide nutrients for the periods of leanness. Now, this implies that there is a safety margin or a little extra amount for those times when we do not meet our nutrient needs adequately. So, one normal individual consumes a lot of food. It is possible that on a given day he may not consume food in the amount he requires. For example, some days we are fasting, some days we are eating more with the friends, some day there is a festival, so we eat different kind of food. So but despite all these variations, we do not develop deficiency in our diet. And because we have not eaten according to RDIs, we do not develop the deficiency diseases when our diet that falters on 1 or 2 days. This is because the RDIs, they already include certain margin of safety. So planning diets on the basis of RDI will take care of this aspect also. That is why RDIs should be considered when we are planning balanced diet. We shall be studying more about the RDIs. So variation in the intake from day to day should not cause problems. Let's study about planning of balanced diets. The art of planning balanced diet, it involves by including foods from each basic food group and estimating the portion size of the meal for each person. Let's talk about what are these basic food groups which are to be considered while planning a balanced diet. As we have already studied that we have to choose the foods from different food groups to ensure that we get all type of nutrients in right amount. So the first basic food group is energy yielding foods. Now, we get energy yielding foods from various sources. It could be whole grains, cereals, and millets. Second category of this type of energy yielding foods is roots and tubers. For example, we have yam, we have potato, we have arvi, colocasia. So all these examples are they provide energy. And similarly, we get energy from vegetable oils, nuts, and oil seeds. Along with that, sugars and jaggery, they also provide us energy. So these are the major source of energy yielding foods, and it is important that we include at least one food from this category. Now let us talk about the second type of basic food group. The second type is bodybuilding food. Bodybuilding food, as the name is suggesting, it is required for building our body, building new cells, and repair work. So these are the food groups which are contains food which are rich sources of proteins. So the first category is pulses, nuts, and oil seeds. And secondly, we can get bodybuilding foods from milk and milk products. We can get it from meat, fish, and poultry also. And including protective foods and regulatory foods is also very important, because this type of food, they include many vitamins and minerals, and they are actually helpful in preventing many diseases, in improving our immune response. This type of protective foods or regulatory foods can be found in some categories of food items. For example, green leafy vegetables. Second is other vegetable and fruits. So other vegetable and fruits are the vegetables which will be providing us fibers, then antioxidants. They will be providing many phytochemicals also. And along with that, fruits which are colored in nature, vegetables which are colored in nature, they will be containing vitamins such as vitamin A. And similarly, eggs, milk and milk products, and flesh foods, they are also considered to be a food item which provides us some protection against diseases. So these are the three basic food groups. And when we are planning a balanced diet, we have to include one food from each of these basic food groups, and that too in correct proportion, because if we falter on the proportion, this may again make our balanced diet unbalanced. So along with food groups, we should also study the concept of portion size. Portion size is another important parameter which is to be considered while planning balanced diet. It refers to amount of a particular snack or dish we would serve to a given individual at one time. Portion size, it will depend upon the age of person, the sex of an individual, and his capacity to eat. Also, in case of adult man or woman, higher the activity, more the portion size. As we know, people who are working day and night, and they are actually working very hard, they can eat larger portion of same food. And people who are doing some sedentary kind of job, they cannot eat that much amount of food. Even their appetite gets lowered. So a meal could basically consist of items such as rice, chapati, dal, and vegetable. We have to see the portion size of each of these. So how much of each of these food it will be considered as a portion size? The example would be if a person is taking a katori of dal, that would contain 30 gram of pulse. If a person is taking, say, three chapatis of containing 20 gram of flour, that means he's consuming cereal worth 60 grams. So that is the portion size of chapati. Or if a person is taking 60-gram rice, that will be equivalent to a plate full of rice, cooked rice. So this is the concept of portion size. And when we are adhering to continuing and including the food from all the basic food groups and combining them with the right estimated portion size, we are able to successfully plan a balanced diet. So now once we have studied about how to formulate a balanced diet, we need certain points which are to be considered while planning a balanced diet. So, what are these important points? The first important point is include as many varieties of foods in amounts appropriate for age, gender, physiological status, and physical activity. As we know, these are the important determinants of how many calories do we need, and for that matter, other nutrients also, how much protein we may be needing. It will vary with our age and gender. And if we include a variety of foods, it will ensure that we are including foods from different type of food groups. And it will also ensure that a variety of nutrients, they become a part of our meal. And second important point is attempt to include foods from each major food group. As we have already discussed that we should be including the food from energy yielding, bodybuilding, and protective foods. And now the latest guidelines, they say that we should include sufficient amount and proportions of all these food groups. For example, the cereals and the pulses, we need them in good proportion. So the latest suggested proportion given by ICMR is that we should include cereals and millets, legumes and milk with the proportion of 3 parts of cereals and millets, 1 part of legume, and 2.5 parts of milk. And another important point is give due importance to the region where we are going to plan diet. As along with the region, what changes is the dietary pattern. For example, people who are staying in the North India, they have different feeding pattern, they have different menus, and when we go down south, they have different type of food ingredients which are available. So it will vary. So it is important when we are planning a balanced diet, we must consider that where the person is putting up, where the person is staying. And economy of meals is an important determinant. No diet is successful if we cannot plan it within our means. So, the purchasing power of our family has to be considered, because if we are planning a meal which contains very expensive ingredients and ready to cook or convenience foods which are very expensive, it is going to disturb our budget, and we cannot continue or sustain such kind of diet for a longer period of time. So it is important that economy of meals is taken into consideration. Along with that, we need to see that what is the existing meal pattern. See what is the occupation of our family members, or for that matter, if we are planning diet for some other person, what is his or her occupation, how many meals that person takes, that means number of meals. Some people they take 2 times a day, some take more, and some carry packed tiffins. So this will alter our formulation of diet. And along with that, there are certain taboos involved with eating. This is very important because in many communities, a certain type of food pattern is followed. Some of them, they are vegetarians, some are vegans, some are ovo vegetarians. So we have to see if a person is accepting that kind of meal, only then it can be a part of our diet. And along with that, we have to consider the likes and dislikes of a person. Some person may be fond of consuming brinjal, the other may be hating to eat that. So a different type of fruits and vegetables which are acceptable to that person, which the person actually enjoys. So these are the things which are to be considered when we are planning balanced diet. Along with that, we should prefer fresh, seasonal, locally available vegetables and fruits in plenty. Because if we are taking fresh and seasonal and locally grown food, it will be tasty, it will be healthy, it will be economical also. So we should always prefer going local, and a lot of things, variety of such items should be uh, included in the balanced diet. And the balanced diet should provide some non-nutrients also. Like we have considered about the energy giving foods, we have considered about bodybuilding foods and protective foods. And along with that, certain non-nutrients are also needed. For example, we need dietary fiber, we need antioxidants, we need phytochemicals for positive health benefits. And these have become all the more important in today's context. We should try that our diet, it provide 50 to 60% of its calories from carbohydrates, preferably the complex carbohydrates, 10 to 15% from proteins, and 20 to 30% from visible and invisible type of fats. How can we distribute the food throughout the day? As we know, the routine practices, we take three major meals, that is breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And along with that, usually we take seasonal snacks and beverages which are placed in between meals. It could be mid morning or it could be evening snack. So the ideal way would be distributing the calories and protein between the three major meals. That means our breakfast, lunch, and dinner, they should provide one third of total energy and protein requirement of that day. And if we are taking some snacks, then we can deduct a little amount of energy and protein from each of them, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And it is better if the dinner is lighter. And along with that, it is important that the meal should give satiety also. Once we have eaten the meal, say we have taken the breakfast, it should sustain us till the time we take our next meal. And we have to give due consideration, say certain conditions when some person goes to his office early in the morning and he cannot take full breakfast, then he may have to carry his tiffin. And same goes for children also. So our distribution of food will change accordingly. Let's summarize what we have studied in this lecture. We had studied about certain basic terms. For example, the first term was food, anything edible that may be solid, semi-solid, or liquid, which when swallowed, digested, and assimilated in the body proves useful to it. Then we studied about the functions of food. We studied that there are physiological functions, there are social functions, and psychological functions. Then we studied about the nutrition, and we define that it in simple word, it is called food at work in the body. And we also studied that nutrition science, it includes the study of nutrients and those substances in the food and their absorption, assimilation, biosynthesis, catabolism, and excretion. Then we studied about the term health. It is a state of complete mental, physical, and social well being, and not merely absence of disease and infirmity. We studied about nutritional status. It is the state of health of an individual which is result of efficiency of utilization of nutrients in the body. We studied about the concept of malnutrition. It is a state of health which arises from incomplete nutrition. This is due to inadequate food and ill-balanced diet. Inadequate diet can be due to both excess or less amount of food than the required amount. We studied that it can be overnutrition or undernutrition. Then we studied about the definition of nutrients. We defined them as those constituents of food that must be supplied to the body in sufficient amounts in order to grow, to reproduce, and lead a normal, healthy life. Then we studied about what are the macronutrients. We studied about carbohydrate, proteins, and fats. Then we talked about micronutrients. They are vitamins and minerals. All these micronutrients are very important for our body. Then we studied the concept that is nutrient requirements. The quantities of nutrients that healthy individuals must obtain from food to meet their physiological needs. Then we studied about diet. We studied that diet refers to whatever we eat and drink each day. And along with that, we studied the concept of balanced diet, in which we defined the balanced diet as it is one which contains different types of foods in such quantities and proportions so that needs of the calorie, protein, vitamin, and other nutrients, they are adequately met, and small provision is made for extra nutrients to withstand short duration of leanness. Then we studied that balanced diet, it includes food from each food group, and along with that we studied that what is the importance of portion size for the maintenance of balanced diet. And then lastly, we studied about what are the important points to be considered to formulate balanced diet. So this finishes our topic on the concept of balanced diet. Thank you very much.